Welcome to the 21st podcast of Traditional Lies, where we research the original Hebrew text to reveal the incomplete translations of the King James Bible. This is part one of a podcast series we're titling Noah's Jonahs. Yes. For the past 10 podcasts, we have researched and shown that Jonah's given Hebrew name is transliterated and the translation of his name is dove. Noah's Jonahs is the same as Noah's doves. To actually understand the book of Jonah requires us to understand the origin of the word dove throughout the translated text. The word dove and the word Jonah come from the exact same Hebrew word. We're going to search out the origin of the story of Dove all the way back to the story of Noah and further reveal this enormous chasm of difference between the original Hebrew text and the English translation story, which I will summarize as God said go, but Dove said no. So we know that Noah sent out the dove three times. And on the first departure, the dove returned with nothing. And on the second departure, the dove returned with an olive branch. On the third departure, the dove did not return to Noah, but we did witness the dove finally found a place of rest, a place to rest the sole of its feet on our Savior after the waters of baptism were no longer covering his face. Okay, so obviously there's a reason why we translated it this way. Let's continue. In Genesis 8:8, we have the first departure of the dove, and it says, "Also he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the ground." It's very important to understand that only on this departure does it tell us why Noah sent the dove out. So we're going to search. This is the only time we're going to be able to search why Noah sent the dove out. Okay? So, first off, let's look at this story very carefully because it seems to resemble a verse we're quite familiar with. In Genesis 1 2, it says, "And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters." Okay, so in the story of Noah's dove, the dove, which is a symbol of the Spirit of God, is moving upon the face of the water, right? Now, this Hebrew word translated as moved is unique. It only occurs on this occurrence in the entire Old Testament of the original text. It's translated as moved, and the word moved occurs 57 times in the King James Version Old Testament. There's another translation that translates this word as vibrating, which I like this version better, and let me tell you why. First off, the word vibrating does not exist anywhere in the translations, so it would be unique, just like the Hebrew word is unique. But on top of that, the dove has wings, and the wings are flapping. The dove is vibrating upon the face of the earth. The key point here is that we're translating a Hebrew word that is unique into a word that occurs 57 times in English. So trying to get clarity about what this dove is doing is critical because this is the only flight where it details to us why the dove is being sent out. So to further understand this story, we're going to research a couple of the Hebrew words in this verse. And the first word we're going to research is the word translated as the dove, which occurs 11 times in the original text. Okay, so look at the screen. Look at the occurrences. Only the first five occurrences of this word are translated as the dove. The sixth occurrence is translated as pigeons. The seventh, pigeons. The eighth occurrence of the same word that is translated as the dove in the book of Jeremiah is translated as of the oppressor. There's no resemblance here. The ninth occurrence in the book of Jeremiah is translated as the oppressing. Again, on the 10th occurrence, the same word translated as the dove is translated as the oppressing. All right, the first letter of this word translated as the dove is the letter Hey, which means behold the dove. This is critical. If we remove the letter Hey, we have the word dove without the preface of behold, and that word occurs an additional 27 times. What would be difference in our understanding of the dove if these other six occurrences of this Hebrew word were translated as the dove? We'd have to go research each one of these, correct? Let's go to another word in this verse, the word translated as if were abated. So in Genesis 8 and 8, the word translated as it were if were abated occurs two times in the original text, and this is the first occurrence of that word. So this word is translated as if were abated in Genesis 8:8, and is translated as have they set light in Ezekiel 22 and 7. Okay, so I'm looking at this and there's just nothing there, right? We don't have there's nothing to figure out here. There's nothing, right? Well, again, this word begins with the letter hey. Let's remove the letter hey, which is behold the noun that follows, and the three letters of the noun that follows occurs 13 times in the original text. The next occurrence of this word in the original text is translated as his voice. What? The third occurrence of this word is translated as Aleph Tav, his voice. Look at the fifth occurrence, Aleph Tav, his voice. This word translated as if were abated, it should say behold if were abated because the letter hey is there. It should be behold his voice. Okay, so let me make sure I understand. We have a bird flying over the water and is trying to see the voice from the waters. But the waters are covering his face, and the bird comes back with nothing because he cannot see his voice in the waters. On the third flight, the dove finally lands in the New Testament because finally the face of our Savior who has a voice has come out of the water. His face is, the waters have, it says, abated. The key there is his face is no longer covered. The waters are not on his face, and the dove can see the face of the voice that he's looking for. We're going to continue researching this first flight in our next podcast. Glory to the King.